Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news on church stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. A shocking video has surfaced online revealing the blatant corruption and extortion of Colonial road safety agents in Ambazonia, a nation that has been plagued by decades of neglect and oppression. The video, which has sparked widespread outrage, shows agents wrongfully accusing a driver of a traffic violation and soliciting money for drinks, specifically mentioning whiskey on the highway from Yaoundé to Boya. This incident is just the tip of the iceberg because it has exposed the deeper suffering of the Ambazonian people, a people who have been denied a basic human rights and essential services, including decent roads, reliable power supply, adequate shelter, and security. The nation's infrastructure has been left to crumble with potholed roads, frequent power outages, and a severe lack of access to basic amenities. The video has ignited a vast storm of criticisms, with many Ambazonians taking to social media to share their own experiences of harassment, intimidation, and extortion at the hands of colonial authorities. The incident has also highlighted the nation's precarious security situation, where citizens are forced to live in fear of arbitrary arrest, detention, and violence. Ambazonians are tired of being treated like second-class citizens. They deserve better than to be extorted and harassed by those who are supposed to protect them. They deserve an end to the colonial occupation and the restoration of the right to self-determination. This video has also sparked calls for accountability and reform, with many demanding that the colonial authorities take immediate action to address their systemic corruption and abuse of power that has become rampant in Ambazonia. Ambazonia is a nation in crisis, and it is time for the international community and the world at large to take notice and to say something. The suffering of the Ambazonian people is real, and it is time for all to stand in solidarity with Ambazonians and demand justice, equality, and freedom. That video continues to circulate online. It has become a powerful symbol of the Ambazonian people's struggle for freedom and self-determination. It is a reminder that the fight for human rights and dignity is far from over, and that the world must continue to shine a light on the injustices faced by the people of Ambazonia. All these and more we will look at tonight on Undaunted. But first, the headlines. Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Tonight we'll start with justice served. The mother who threw her kid away got arrested in Boya. Also tonight, the parish priest of Catholic Church in Mulang, Reverend Father Emmanuel Miyanwe, has regained freedom after spending hours with his abductors. Discrimination against Ambazonian students as La Republic de Cameroon discounted rights initiative to the University of Yaoundé and leaving Ambazonians stranded. Tonight, we'll take a look at the Colonial road safety agent caught in act of extortion. All the African scene Democracy has been restored as presidential elections scheduled for April 12th is marking the end of military rule in Gabon. On the foreign scene, Trump takes charge. President unleashes fury of controversy, moves from day two of his presidential pardons. All right, and coming up next is the news info briefings. In Boyer, a 24-year-old woman has been arrested for abandoning her newborn in a pit toilet. A few days ago, thankfully, the baby is now getting medical care and is expected to survive. Remember, on the 15th of January, we brought you a story where a baby was found abandoned in a pit toilet in Bukwango, Boyer. The baby's 24-year-old mother, whose name we got as Tanisa Uyar, was arrested after she admitted to leaving her child there. Fortunately, the unnamed baby survived. When he arrived at the Boyer Regional Hospital, he was in critical condition. Pediatrician Dr. Yaoundé Fokem Pure B said the baby was cold, inactive, and dirty, showing he had been in the toilet for a while. The doctor explained that the baby, who is receiving treatment, including intravenous medication to help prevent infections and clean his system, is responding well to care. His mother, Uyar, is currently getting medical help herself, and she will face trial once her health is better. Colonial authorities have charged her with infanticide, which is a serious crime. Senator Suzanne, chief of the Social Action Service at the hospital, called the act not only criminal but barbaric. She added that investigations are still going on to understand what led to this situation. It was revealed that Uyar has another child, a 1-year child, who is currently being cared for by family members. The rescued newborn will be placed in an orphanage for now while the investigation continues. Uyar's family may act to take care of the baby, but only after an assessment of their ability to provide proper care. Meanwhile, experts are also commenting on the case. Barrister Abangrace Nebo noted that abandoning a child is a serious offense which could make Uyar's situation worse. Well, like we promised, we'll definitely get to the root of all of this. But we all know that all of this is part of the sufferings of Ambazonians when the mental health is not in shape. But still talking about the sufferings, the parish priest of Catholic Church, Mulang Reverend Father Emmanuel Miyanwe, has regained freedom. For all we know, kidnapping for ransom is a new normal in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia amidst the 8 years of war and still counting. Multiple armed gang have surfaced with the lone mission of making fast cash through kidnapping for ransom, a phenomenon that has caged the local population into a prison of fear. Somebody is spared, that to talk of the clergy. The parish priest of the Catholic Church in Mulang was kidnapped. He was whisked away in the front of the church at about 8 a.m. Reverend Father Emmanuel Miyanwe was taken away by an unidentified armed gang in front of the church. The parish priest of St. Edmund Catholic Church, Mulang, regained his freedom at the same time, but in the evening after spending almost the whole day with his abductors. The condition under which he was released is still to be uncovered as to whether a ransom was paid and if yes, how much. These groups of robbers with guns have proven not to have any respect for those they pull into their dragnets. Clergies that are considered sacred in society are now one of their targets. The existence of such groups is not healthy for the safeguarding of the name and the purpose of existence of the Ambazonian State Army, as these armed gangs, most of the time posed as Ambazonian State Army, will have caught most imposters and brought them to the fore. The Ambazonian State Army has taken to resolve to free the streets of Ambazonia from these criminals. A couple of days ago, their effort paid off as they apprehended 2 individuals with guns, and that we brought to the fore here on Undaunted. Still talking about insecurity, discrimination against Ambazonia students has been disclosed. This is not the first time. This is a developing story as well. While many students continue to endure struggles, the Colonial ruling party is using educational initiative for political purposes. Today, the January 23rd, the Colonial Trade Minister Luke Maglo Mbaga Atangana has set rolling his plan to distribute discounted rice exclusively to students at the Colonial University of Yaoundé. After being shamed for open discrimination, the Colonial Trade Minister did not end his, what should we call that, unfortunate discrimination of the Paul BS political party. He has gone to the extent of a hidden campaign to students in their capital university. His program offering rice at a lower price is currently being distributed, but from our investigation, it is only available to students at the university. This has raised concerns about favoritism and exclusion of Ambazonian students. While the Colonial Minister claims the initiative is meant to help students cope with the rise in living costs, many see it as unfair. Ambazonian students already facing challenges from the ongoing war and economic issues. They feel unlooked. And of course, it's unfair. While critics have called this initiative as an abuse of power, many feel that this move may be more about gaining political favor than genuinely assisting those in need, and especially since the colonial government is demanding that students hand a copy of the national identity cards before they can purchase the rice. And so all of this is geared towards the election. Maybe some form of extortion rather, since you have to show your card, your identity card. And still talking about extortion, Colonial road safety agents caught in the act of extortion. A video is trending online, and it has ignited outrage after showing a Colonial road safety agent wrongfully accusing a driver of a traffic violation and soliciting money for drinks. The event unfolded on a highway from La Republic to Cameroon capital Yaoundé to Boya. The video captured a shameful encounter on the new highway connecting Yaoundé to Boya. In the footage, a Colonial road safety agent stops a driver, making unfounded claims of a traffic infraction and demanding cash immediately after stating it's for whiskey. This, however, is not an isolated event. It only adds to expose the deeper issues of corruption that seems to permeate the incompetent BS government. Talking about President Biya, the colonial official made a light-hearted jab that the colonial president's inability to express himself in the English language, a joke he made because the driver who had stopped and his passengers were addressing these agents in English language, clearly indicating that these were Ambazonian citizens. While some may have found humor in it, the online outrage is palpable, and rightly so. Ambazonians are fed up with the constant circle of misconduct among colonial officials who will claim to serve the people, to protect them, only to end up extorting them. Well, we'll definitely get that video within the week for you all to see. Still in the spirit of unfair treatment, we will definitely have to end the news report here. And then coming up next will be the news across Africa. Gabon had announced that presidential elections would be held on the 12th of April, ending the military rule that began with a coup in 2023. A ministerial cabinet meeting confirmed the scheduling of the presidential election. So it looks like a major development is happening in the country. With presidential election, scheduled to take place on the 12th of April, marking the end of military rule that began with the coup in 2023. This is a significant step towards restoring democracy and giving the people a say in their government. The ministerial cabinet meeting minutes after confirmed the scheduling of the presidential election, which is a positive move towards transparency and accountability. It's worth noting that the country has been through a lot since the coup in 2023, and the road to recovery won't be easy. However, with the election scheduled, there is a sense of hope and optimism that the country can move forward and build a better future for its citizens. The election will likely to be a highly contested one, with various candidates vying for the top spot. As the country prepares for the election, it is essential to ensure that the process is free, fair, and transparent. This will help to build trust in the government and ensure that the will of the people is respected. The international community will likely be watching the election closely, and it's crucial that the country can demonstrate its commitment to democracy and the rule of law. Meanwhile, in another development, the situation in Sudan is absolutely devastating, with over 1 million people fleeing to neighboring South Sudan in search of refuge. The UN has just released some staggering numbers showing that more than 770 people have crossed into South Sudan through the Jordan crossing in just 21 days. This is one of the worst displacement crises in the world. And it's heartbreaking to think about the families and individuals who have been forced to leave their homes behind. The majority of these refugees are South Sudanese nationals who had been living in Sudan but were forced to flee due to the ongoing conflict. They are arriving in South Sudan with barely anything and are in desperate need of food, water, shelter, and medical care. The UN and other humanitarian organizations are doing their best to provide aid, but it's a huge challenge, especially given their limited resources and infrastructure in South Sudan. The South Sudan Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan 2025 is highlighting the increasing pressures on humanitarian organizations with a projected 337,000 new arrivals in 2025. The UNHCR and the IOM are working together to provide assistance, including transport, food, and shelter. But more resources are needed to address this deepening humanitarian emergency. It's not just the refugees who are struggling. Either the host communities in South Sudan are also feeling the strain. They are sharing what little they have, but it's just not enough. The Norwegian Refugee Council is calling for more international support to help both the refugees and the host communities and to put an end to the violence in Sudan and causing this crisis. On the other hand, the Human Rights Watch is also sounding the alarm, highlighting the dire human rights and humanitarian situation in South Sudan. They are calling for accountability for the abuses that are being committed and for more to be done to protect civilians and to prevent further violence. Coming up next is news across the globe. Oh, well, here across the globe, President Donald Trump is definitely making waves in his second term, and it's only been a few days since his inauguration. He's already defending his pardons for Capitol Hill riot defenders, which is sparking a lot of controversy at the same time. He's planning to purge DEI programs, which could have significant implication for diversity and inclusion initiatives across the country. On the economic front, Trump is taking a tough stance against Russia and China, threatening economic actions against both nations. This comes as his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, started his first day on the job at the State Department. Rubio's appointment is seen as a key move by Trump to reshape his foreign policy team. In our significant development, Trump meets with Congregational Republicans at the White House and then appeared with tech CEOs to announce a major artificial intelligence infrastructure deal. The joint venture with OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank will invest billions in AI infrastructure, which could be a game changer for the US tech industry. As Trump's team settles in, it's clear that there will be a significant overhaul of the administration. Many officials who worked under the Biden administration are expected to leave their posts, making way for Trump's new appointees. These include his Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as well as other key officials like Pete Hegseth, who has been nominated for Secretary of Defense, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been selected as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Over to Ukraine. So it looks like things are escalating in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, with North Korea now getting involved. The 8th Regiment of Ukraine's Special Program Forces recently resisted a North Korean assault in Russia's coast. And it was a pretty intense battle. The Ukraine troops held their ground for 8 hours before retreating, and they managed to kill 21 and 140 North Korean soldiers in the process. This is a big deal because it's the first time we have seen North Korea troops directly involved in the conflict, and it's not just a small-scale engagement. Russia is actually deploying North Korean soldiers in ground assaults to try and push out Ukrainian troops from the western Russian region. The Ukrainian Defense Minister, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, and the head of the Counter Disinformation Branch of Ukraine's Security Council, Andriy Kovalenko, have both confirmed that this is a significant escalation of North Korea's involvement in the war. NATO, on the other hand, is also weighing in on the situation, with Secretary General Mark Rutte condemning deployment of North Korean troops to Russia and calling it a significant escalation of the conflict. He's also emphasized the importance of democracies standing together to uphold their values and face shared security challenges. It's clear that the international community is taking the development very seriously, and we can expect to see more diplomatic efforts to try and resolve the situation in the coming days. And that's all we have for news across the globe. But before we go, let's give you a recap of the major stories. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that justice has been served as mother of the newborn baby we talked about on the 15th of January got arrested. Also tonight, we told you that the parish priest of Catholic Church in Mulang, Reverend Father Emmanuel Miyanwe, has regained freedom. We looked at the discrimination against Ambazonian students, how La Republic de Cameroon has discounted rights initiative at Colonial University of Yaoundé for only La Republic de Cameroon students. We looked at the Colonial road safety agents caught in the act of extortion. Tonight on Undaunted, we took a look at the elections in Gabon, and also Trump's second day in office was on the foreign scene. And that's all we have for you on tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news on top stories. On behalf of the technical crew that put up today's production, we say thank you and also apologizing for coming behind schedule on tonight's Undaunted. Good night, Undaunted.